Hello, everybody. Welcome to our third episode of the Seasons podcast.
What's up, people? How are you?
Today we have Sven here. Tom is in the back as our
Marketing guy?
yeah.
The person that controls everything from behind.
Yes. All right. So let's roll the intro.
Today we have a couple of topics that we want to discuss. You can start with yours about the movie we saw.
Oof.
Was it like 2 weeks ago? 1 week ago?
Yeah, 2 weeks ago. Yeah, I think.
Which was pretty intense, if I'm honest.
I've never felt so outraged in watching a movie.
It's not only outrage, it was more like we suffer from anxiety, so it was really, really difficult to watch it because you want to know what's gonna happen, but at the same time, you having a struggle with yourself while watching it because you want it to end so badly.
Let's dig into it. We watched a movie recently, the movie Gone Girl by Ben Affleck and Emrata.
Wow.
If you watch a movie, you'll know what I'm talking about. The movie went from 0 to 10 in that scene.
Just for the people that are watching us, think that Eddie was watching this movie with his girlfriend right next to him.
I close my eyes now. So this movie, for those who haven't watched it yet, Ben Affleck is the husband, the guy.
We don't want to spoil it, but just try to...
I think we need to spoil it, bro. Like, how can you explain everything?
We can use certain things that happen in the movie, but not spoil them the whole ending and everything, because I think it's a movie that they need to see without knowing what's going to happen.
Yeah. Ben Affleck is a husband. One day he came back home and he didn't find her wife there, and everybody was freaking out. Her wife was like a huge celebrity, and everybody thought that Ben Affleck was kill her, yeah, and a murderer, and everybody was talking shit about him on the news and everything. As we progress in the movie, we'll see that the wife actually made up everything, and she had a plan on how she wanted to get back at Ben because certain reasons that you'll see
with Emily
this perfect evil plan that she was just manipulating people's perspective through the news, through the media. Since she was like a celebrity, she was the role model, housewife thing. It's a, how could you do that shit, you know? And then Ben discovered that this shit was a evil plan, and he was like, okay, I'm gonna play this game too, and I'm gonna try to play better. It's just all this topic of manipulation of perspective media that really had us captivated.
It was also impressive, like how the wife managed not only to manipulate the media, but also the FBI, like different really professional, how do you call them, groups of people, just by playing the victim in such a well-played way. That everyone, even you can see how people start feeling for her and caring for her, thinking like, oh my God, she's been through a lot, when she's actually a psychopath.
Yeah, crazy.
That's just like, that's the part that gave us anxiety, I think, is the fact that we didn't realize the movie we were watching till we started going through it and literally going through the steps, like 0 to 100 real quick, when you realize she's actually insane, and how an insane person has an ability to manipulate sane people in such an easy way.
Also, she's super, super smart. Everything she planned out, it was perfect. She took advantage of her status. She was also a woman, which in society you perceive it as the weak one in the relationship, you know? So you gave the benefit of the doubt to her rather than to Ben and to the husband. And it was just super fucked up.
Yeah, it was a good movie. We suffered a little bit, but it was so good that we actually felt how the producer wanted us to feel. That disgust and anger and I want to kill her too, like she deserves to die type of feeling. And I think it's a good way of showing the world also that there's actually this type of things in the world happening. Maybe, I don't know if to that extent, but at least the manipulation part, it's really easy to convince media or certain people, because media, of course, is a business. They want to make money. If they have the newest and the most famous story in their hands, they're gonna try to make it bigger and try to put other things in the middle for people to follow this news, right? So I think this is the perfect example and a really well produced movie that actually shows how sensitive media is, how sensitive people and followers of media are, how easy it is to manipulate not only one person but a whole country or a whole state, the humanity in general.
And the reason why we wanted to talk about this topic is that actually I encountered a example of social media manipulation in real life back in Ecuador, where this woman started out of nowhere in Instagram. She just started posting these videos about, she was crying, she was saying that her husband took away the kids from her.
Oh no.
And it was because of the corrupt justice system. And you know, in a third world country, when you say about, oh, the justice system, you think about, oh, it's corrupt. Yes, she's right. You give her the benefit of the doubt. And this video caused a lot of outrage in the society. Everybody back home started like talking about the husband, talking shit about him, I guess giving signatures for the woman to go get the kids back, because the kids were living with the husband in a close neighborhood, so she couldn't get in, but she just went to stand in front of the neighborhood with a sign in there saying like, hey, give back my kids, I'm a poor mother who lost her kids.
But what's the behind of the story? Like, why did the father, like the husband, take the kids? You can tell us more about it, but what happened? Like, why did she lose the kids? Did something happen behind the scenes?
So I want to tell the story. Like, I wanted to show you the videos, but I think it's better this storytelling process. So I'm gonna tell you how I experienced that step by step. I was looking into Instagram. I saw this video of this woman that was crying. She's like, I don't know her name again.
Irrelevant. Irrelevant already. Like any other name.
But I saw this video and it was posted in Facebook, an Instagram group called like La Fundación de Iguanas, like a iguana foundation. And I checked the page and everything. So she is the founder of this foundation, this NGO that fights for the lives of iguanas, lizards, and deforestations and everything. She's basically an environmental activist. And I'm like, okay, if she's crying and me as a man, as again part of society, I'm thinking like a guy with a lot of power, corrupt, took away the kids of this woman after they divorced, and it's all because of money, because he's a rich businessman and everything. I'm like, poor woman, I want to support her.
Was that the first feeling you got?
Yeah, that's the first feeling I got.
Did you know like he was rich and everything, or you just had like that idea?
I had that idea. It was my mind.
Like your own mind gave you the perception that poor woman, and what an asshole of a husband.
Yeah, because the facts that were presented to me was just
her side.
Yeah, her side. It's picture. I am here looking at this poor woman crying about her kids, and she's talking about the corrupt justice system, and I think she briefly mentioned about her husband that was living in a close neighborhood. That close neighborhood is actually next to my house. There's like a area of close neighborhoods where I live from, and that was right next to me. I'm like, okay, people that live in that neighborhood, it's quite affluent. So
you were calling yourself rich.
Back home, not in the US.
Okay. Okay.
But I was like, okay, this guy must be rich, he must be a good businessman, and he paid the judge or anything for it.
Before we continue with the story, if I'm honest with you, an easy target to manipulate in that sense, because I also live in a third world country called Guatemala, which has a lot of controversy and problems and issues, corruption, killings. I think if I was in your position, I wouldn't have gone for the, oh, what a poor woman. I wouldn't have gone for each side, not one. First, I would know what was actually happening behind the scenes and behind media, because it's really easy to get that feeling you didn't even know.
Yeah.
He was a businessman or whatever, or what happened. You saw her crying. Women can cry like men. Actors, manipulators, psychopaths, sociopaths, they can do that to give you that empathy, that feeling of poor thing. And then your own mind kicked in and started giving you these ideas of he's rich, he has the power, he's the asshole that because we live in a corrupt country, this asshole must have paid the judge to get the kids. Maybe it's the other way around. He got the kids because the mom was an actual psychopath. We don't know. Tell us furthermore.
Okay, I'm super glad that you're coming in that way, because I was at that moment, I was not thinking about it. I was not judging. I was just presented these facts, and my mind, it's already constructing like a story. But then like a week or so after I saw the video, I saw another video that somebody posted about like she went into the house of the husband with a lawyer or somebody and some of her relatives, and she was dragging the kids, and the kids were crying like, no, I don't want to leave, blah blah blah. I'm like, okay, this is weird. If the mom is truly as caring as we usually picture moms are, why the kids don't want to be with her, you know? And that's when I started doubting, and I'm like, okay, there must be something wrong. A couple days after that, I saw a full video. It's like a 10-15 minute video of the husband presenting his side of the story, and that's where it got me shook. So going back to the part that I was thinking about, oh yeah, this is a rich businessman, you know, the way I was picturing him, a tall guy, maybe fit, whatever, with his suit and everything, nice haircut, beard or something, whatever you picture as a successful businessman is, right? And it's like I was thinking about him. It's like, okay. But then I saw the video, I saw the actual guy. Okay, he is not at all what I imagined. He had a belly, he was not shaved. You can see in his face that he was tired, he was sad.
Why did you picture him as the first description you gave us? Did you picture him as this fit, perfect looking guy?
Because that's my definition in my mind of a successful, rich, probably corrupt businessman. I was like, okay, probably he's gonna be like that. It's like when I ask you, picture me a princess. Okay, what comes into your mind?
I think a princess and a businessman are two really different things. Princess is something that was created in our minds as a young generation through movies, cartoons, and whatever, the perfect looking, real thin, beautiful person, right?
Blonde,
yeah. Not always blonde, but yeah.
Always at the beginning.
Maybe you like blondes, but the thing is that you can compare both, because maybe you had an experience when you were little, and that's why your connection to a successful business person is someone good looking who has money. Maybe if you've seen Suits, a Harvey Dent, like a real perfectly dressed, well cut hair, everything super nice. It's a little bit curious also the fact that you are looking it that way, and then you see this guy who is like an actual parent that normally they call it the dad belly, where you have a wife, you have kids, you don't want to work out anymore, like fuck it, I'm gonna do myself, I'm gonna eat whatever I want, I'm gonna do whatever I want, and I'm gonna work. It's impressive that you got shocked by the fact that it is this perfect thing. What was the feeling that arose from that first image of him to you? Was it different? Did you actually felt some kind of empathy when you saw him?
Yeah, absolutely. I saw his face, his dressing was just share that was not being taken care properly. You can see that this is not what I imagined. Like, this guy has been through so much, and you can see in his hair too was messy and everything. I was like, but my mind, part of my mind was still thinking like, let's listen to what this asshole has to say, because I was still on the woman's side unconsciously or deep down inside. And then he started talking his side of the story. So the woman accused that they had like a family psychologist that apparently helped him to get the kids, because the psychologist presented the case and whatever, and tell the judge like, hey, this woman's crazy, don't be with her. And then they gave the kids to the husband, and the woman accused him of, she is a friend of him.
So the psychologist said She was a family psychologist, right?
Yeah, she's a family psychologist.
Because they were having problems, I'm guessing they decided to get a psychologist
Yes, the
like
kids-
as a group, as a family.
Not a group, just the kids.
The psychologist was for the kids,
It was for the kids, yeah.
not for the parents.
Yeah, because of the divorce and everything, I guess they got a psychologist because the kids, they're 6, 7.
Oh.
Yeah, they're young as hell.
Babies.
So they approach the psychology and tell them about the feelings and everything. She accused the guy of hiring a psychologist that was his friend, and that's why the psychologist helped the husband out
With the judge.
with the judge. So that's what she said. The husband started telling his side of the story. He said that they got divorced and everything. At the beginning, the custody was, I don't know how the law works in there. I guess you get 6 months with the husband and then 6 months with the woman. I don't know.
Like
But-
as living, like 6 months with each?
Yeah, something like that.
I've never heard about it. My parents are divorced, and maybe it works like that in Ecuador.
I don't know in your case what happened.
It was like 6 years ago, so I was 17 years old,
Mhm.
which I was almost old enough to make my own decisions.
Yeah.
But maybe with young kids, it has to be like that. I think normally, from what I know about that, is that normally the judge gives like a house for the week. Generally, is the whole week with one of the parents.
Mhm.
Like you're gonna be living either with your mom or your dad, and you can visit for 3 days, 4 days the other parent, because the divorce normally it has two sides of the coin.
Mhm.
Sometimes the dad is the asshole, the other time mother is the asshole in the relationship. So the kids go with the best fit for them, like the one that's gonna take care of them, the one that has enough money, resources, time, takes care of them. So it depends on that. I'm not sure, but from this story, they had like 6 months each.
I'm not sure, but I made up that 6-month thing. But I'm saying that they had a time to live with the dad and then with the mom. I don't know how long, but when the dad was taking care of the kids, the mom never went to visit, never called or anything, never showed proper care to them in their birthdays. When it was Christmas, instead of gathering together, she went on a trip.
Drinking.
No, she went on a trip in the US or something like that. And the kids were always like wondering like, hey, where's mom? I want to see mom and blah, blah, blah. I don't remember the whole story, but then afterwards they moved with the mom. The kids approached the psychologist. They told, not the dad, and they didn't tell the dad or anybody else. They went to tell the psychologist like, hey, so there was this incident that we were with our mom. She suddenly tell us to all get naked and we go to shower together. Well, I guess 6, 7 years. It's
They're still
okay.
young, yeah, they're
It's
still
okay
young.
to shower. But the problem was that after they shower, and this part gets a little bit up, is that it's a boy and a girl, right? She just started checking out her vagina and everything, taking pictures and also playing with the boy's genitals. So,
What?
yeah, it's up. So the two kids approach the psychologist and tell the psychologist that shit, and I guess the psychologist went with the judge and everything.
She's like a pedophile.
I don't know. I don't want to put labels on anybody, but
If you're doing something worse with your own, I'm not gonna excuse any pedophiles, but
Yeah.
you're doing it to young kids, you're their parent, you're a f***ing pedophile. Even if they're your kids, okay, I understand when it's an actual baby, like 2 years old, that you have to change their diapers. Doesn't matter, like you're doing your job, but once you start doing with another idea, with you're going in there for, I don't know, self-pleasure. I think at that moment when you heard about that, you were kind of already on the other side of
yeah,
the...
yeah. Well, it was not only the dad also talked about like the mom mistreated the kids when the boy didn't want to itch his vegetable. Apparently, she just splashed cold water in the kid and let him stand in the bathroom for hours with wet clothes. And
Abuse.
Yes, and some other examples I don't clearly remember. But I was like, what I felt at that moment was like, I started thinking about this environmental activist woman that is asking for her kids back. So in my mind, it's like, I'm so shook, because how can somebody that is fighting for iguanas and trees and the environment cannot take care of their own kids? It's not fighting to take care of her own kids. I was shook. I was like, okay, I'm on the dad side, but
Yeah, that's that's a game of playing sides, because then another story is gonna come up where the dad was the that hit the mom, and then the mom had like severe, I don't know, like psychological damage, and that's why she did the thing she did. I don't know. I'm just getting this out of my head right now. But I think the fact that she's an activist isn't, and that's for you personally, like I'm telling you this, in my perspective, it's just a type of feedback. You shouldn't have an idea of what people should be just because of certain aspects of what they are. She's an activist. She could be a killer, like she could be whatever you like to call it. She could be an asshole. She could be a whatever you want to call it. It could be a cover, or maybe she actually cares of the environment, but she actually hates her own life, and that's why she gets mad at their kids or tries to take profit of them. I think it would be good also to analyze a little bit further the fact that maybe she was a doctor. Doctors are normally good with people because they do their jobs because they want to help people, but you don't know if that person actually hates his or her job because their parents told her to study that because he was also a doctor. So maybe her hates that job and is stuck in that job, and that's why her mistreats the clients, patients. So you see where I'm going to, like it's really easy to get an idea, like for you, the business person, like how they look, because we're built from experiences. So your own system in your head, how you think, how you perceive everything, and your imagination comes from past experiences. Everything, literally your way of thinking, your way of talking, everything comes out of experiences. So for you, maybe your experience was like an activist. It's always good. It's doing something good. Business person that takes kids or has a divorce, kind of an asshole, but they look this way because maybe you met someone that looked that way. You just clicked both ideas together, and for you, a business person looks that way, you know? So I think we should be also really careful with ourselves when getting information in media, because even our own perception can manipulate us into thinking something, you know?
And this, I really like the fact that you mentioned the word like system in our head. So I read a book before, it's called Blink by Malcolm Gladwell, and that book basically talks about all that subconscious part of our brain. He calls it the dark room, something that we can't enter and we don't know what's in there, but it's in there and you can control it. All this, like as you said, this preconception of what a rich businessman is, the fit image, the suit and everything, it's all within that dark room, and all those pre-constructed stereotypes are just in there, which is hard to just get out of it, you know?
I'm not saying hard to get out of there, because you're still gonna perceive it that way.
Yeah, exactly.
Doesn't matter what you do. For you, a business person, when they talk about someone, a corrupt business person, you're gonna think about that. You can't do anything about it. But at least when you're having a conversation about someone like that, or getting information from media or whatever of a business person, at least you can say, okay, I'm gonna ignore my stereotype of my head, and I'm trying to dig a little bit further of what this person actually is. Okay, let's say Ted Bundy. You know who Ted Bundy is?
No.
Okay, Ted Bundy was one of the most famous serial killers in the United States of America.
Oh yeah.
I think he killed like over 30 women. They finally caught him because he was normally changing states. He even had a girlfriend that had a kid. The kid was like 10 years old or something, and he was like the stepdad. Happy, everything. He used to take his car and go kill some people. Then come back, be back with his family. Okay?
That's
you should watch the documentary and movie. It's actually
it's
really
Netflix, right?
Yeah, it's super interesting also, because they give you a different perspective of how they felt being around him. He was a loving, caring person, but he was like kind of bipolar with her, the girlfriend. Then she started like doubting and everything, and then news started coming out of a car, Volkswagen, that was seen in some of the killings, right? And she knew about the car, and you're gonna watch the thing. But where I'm going to is that you need to actually take that stereotype from your head of, oh, I met this girl, this guy who's really charming and everything, but you should take a closer look of how he is, how she is, where do they come from, what's actually happening. This guy killed 30 girls, college students, most of them. He did like horrible things, bit them before killing them, cut their heads. He was so aggressive that one time he raped one of the victims. He took the panties so hard that he burned her like with 3rd degrees burns of how hard he pulled the panties down. So he's an animal, right? He's an animal, and there's no excuse of doing whatever he did. But even when he was in trial, girls used to come to see him.
What?
Because he was charming. They were in love, college girls. They used to say to the news, like, I feel him charming, but so interesting and aggressive. I love it. I'm in love with him. Things like that, because they only get one side of the story. They only see him being smiling in the trial. They don't see him killing people. They just see this charming, beautiful person standing there and trying to defend himself from killing people. Okay?
Oh,
so
wow.
that's my point. Like, if you want to see one side, you can see that side. You can see the guy being fit and whatever you want, because that's your stereotype, your perception. But you don't know who that person is, or if this girl, like this activist, is an actual psychopath who literally hurts her own kids because she wants to. And then she has that cover of, I'm good, I'm here to support the environment and iguanas. In that case, not the iguanas, but them in this case, and take care of your own kids.
Yeah, exactly.
You know? But I think like the Ted Bundy thing, it's something that I've always liked, because it's so intriguing and interesting to see how easy it is to manipulate people. And he did it. Thought above himself when he was in trial, got rid of all his lawyers because he thought he was better. But you can actually see how they try to trigger certain things on each person. For you, it was the crying, I'm the victim, they took my kids, this asshole. And then you, Eddie Chow, you're watching the news, normal person, minding your own business. You come across this video and you're like sympathizing. And you're feeling what she's feeling, because maybe you saw an aunt having a similar experience, or someone close to you, or maybe another news story. And then you feel like this this well-looking guy, this pitch-perfect businessman who's an asshole, took them. And then you hear him and you see him, and then your sights and your perception and stereotyping don't matter anymore.
Yeah.
You're like, he's not what I thought he was gonna be. Fuck it, I'm going with him, because now more information came into my brain and changed my whole perspective again. How do we control which side we take and not being influenced by information? In my perception, the only answer is going back to history and your own experiences, because you learn. That's why they say that failure is good. That's why they say that your experiences are there for something. Your depressions, your anxieties, your problems, you missed an exam because you were late. You know, I have to wake up earlier so I can make it to my exam. Every experience helps you with the future. In this case, is with information.
Yes.
Use past information. Use your own way of perceiving things and try to use it against what you're receiving and towards you, to say, okay, stop. This is what's happening. I will never know what's actually happening, but at least I have this information of both. Or you can go to Google now, internet, it's so easy to access. Search a little bit from both of them if you are really into the story, and say, she was in the psychiatrist, she is taking pills for this and this and this. Okay, that makes more sense with what the story is. Okay, she's actually insane. I don't know, like, if you have any comment to that, because I think we are humans, animals are super easy to manipulate and trigger certain emotions in us.
I feel like that's a very good point that you're making, that in the future I should really step back and not let my dark room do the job for me. Instead, I should use more of my other informations in my brain, and also search for new stuff that actually proves and supports the fact, my hypothesis, that this woman is a poor woman. I feel like the most f***ed up part of this story is that I feel like I was part of the society members, like, made the woman take the kids away.
Did she actually?
Yeah, she took them back.
Legally?
Yeah, apparently legally. I don't know if it was signatures. That
And you were part of the movement.
I guess so, but like
Mouth to mouth.
No, I didn't tell anybody.
You didn't talk about that?
Yeah, well, with some friends, I was like, oh, it's up.
Do you share your yeah, that's the
Yeah,
thing.
no,
Sharing the is
Yeah.
sharing is if I'm in a group friend and someone is like, do you see what an asshole? I'm already getting a perception. I'm already getting a specific type of information. Poor woman.
yeah.
I already get that information. I'm like, that motherfucker, fuck him. Then I tell my parents, like, do you see this poor woman is suffering because, you see, it's so easy.
I don't feel so f***ing bad for it. Like, imagine 2 kids are taken back by this psycho, you know?
And you let it happen.
And poor kids, they are just like 6, 7 years old. What will happen to them? They might become the next psycho killer in the future, and I was part of that shit. Who the knows? I don't know. When I think about that, it's just like, gives me a very up feeling, and hopefully the judges or anybody else
Is the trial still going?
I haven't followed up, to be honest. Like, after the dad posted that video, I guess it awakened a lot of people to help out, but I haven't seen any decisive or whatever thing.
Can I ask you something, which is something I just realized? Right now you said you haven't followed up the news, right? How long ago was the last time you even looked for it or searched for it?
3 weeks ago, probably.
3
at
weeks ago?
least.
Okay. You see how unimportant the news was for you?
Yeah.
Like in general?
Yeah.
And how much of an asset you were for the news and for like the actual problem? Like, you know where I'm going to.
I was lazy as if it
I know
doesn't
the
pops up in
laziness, but
Insta-
I'm thinking like you're the person that's gonna talk about it. I'm not saying you're a bad guy in this story, but you are. Because if you were actually worried about the kids and the parents and the husband or whatever, you would actually do something about it. And we have anxiety because of this. Then you go back and you're like, I was part of the problem and whatever. I'm the victim also because I was an asshole. And you don't do anything about it. You just watch, sit down and just watch it evolve and happen. And maybe, as you said, like maybe they will become serial killers. Maybe in 15 years you will know. But you didn't do anything to stop it. Your empathy is not worth it anymore. Is it? It isn't.
Hopefully this podcast will bring some awareness.
No, but I'm saying it because I'm also that way. Just another example, Guatemala is having like a guerrilla. Guerrilla is like an internal war. Civil war. It was we had one for 36 years, which was pretty long till 1996, which was the year I was born, the best year. We didn't have any problems more than drug dealers, drug lords, the maras, which are the gangsters, and immigration. You know, people from Central America, South America coming through our country, and even our people coming to the United States. Now we have the problem that this guerrilla, it's called the civil war, is starting to rise up again. They killed 3 soldiers that didn't have anything to do with the problem. They're soldiers to defend, and this new, like, how do you call it, like movement, decided to kill them. They shared pictures of them killed, one without a face and everything. In social media, you know, everything goes as fast as possible. Everyone got it. Videos, really horrific acts of war. You feel the empathy, like, poor guy, you don't know who he is. You don't want to know. Fuck it, I'm not going to follow up, even if it's my country. And that happens to everyone. Every single news you see, you feel certain empathy or anger or emotions, different emotions even. And that's why it's so important, and I'm learning this from Future Societies. It's a class I'm taking. So important to know where the information is coming from, where the source is, what's actually happening, who is the person that took this source, who is giving me this source of information. And we compared Fox News and the New York Times. One goes more to the left, one is more to the right. One wants to support an idea. They give you the information in a certain way so you can feel something. And it's horrible. It's horrible because we are like little rats and they are playing with us, with our head. And I really am thankful that I have this class because it helps me to recheck. You come from a finance background. You have that analytical mentality. Use it in a different way. It doesn't have to always do with finance. It has to be with the fact that you're reading something and you're like, oh, interesting, like this is happening. Okay, let me recheck 3 sources, not 1, and see what's happening. And then you're gonna realize how different their way of giving the information is, how they play with words and with tiny things just to manipulate you. in some way. It's impressive. Misinformation is a big problem. And that's coming back to the first topic we had today, is with this movie. How each one of the husband and the wife in the movie, how each one says certain things for people to feel either empathy or anger towards someone or a specific problem. So easy, smooth. I call it planting a seed. I read a book, but I would like to give it to you. It's how you plant seeds on someone's brain. I've even tried it with my friends.
That's the movie DiCaprio.
Inception.
Yes, that.
Yeah, okay. Something like, okay, Inception takes it like really into detail. I'm not in an Inception type of mood, but I've tried planting seeds on my friends and they work. And it's really easy.
So how you do it?
How I do it, I'm not talking like if I do hypnosis or anything, but I can plan it. The fact that it's a seed that's gonna grow. Your idea is gonna grow if I know how to put it inside of you. I need to learn what type of person you are. Okay, I know you're a finance guy, but I also know you closer than many people, okay? So I know how you behave, how you are and everything, what you like, what you don't like, what gives you anxiety, what doesn't. So I just play with it. I'm not gonna say names, but I did with a couple of friends of ours, and I wanted to see what happened in a couple of weeks if they would still talk about something that I would plant on their heads and how it would develop. And I did it in a couple of weeks after they were freaking their out because they were like, bro, this is happening to me and this and this and this. And it was because of something I told them. And that just got stuck. If you put like a virus into a computer and that virus just starts growing because the computer lets the virus grow.
Yeah.
And it goes and goes and goes and goes and goes till I'm like, bro, I said it like kidding or something like that. It's really easy to manipulate. So that's what news do. They plant a seed on you. They plant the seed of worriness and like poor kids and poor wife and everything. And you're following it up. You're trying. And then they come up and they're like, no, she was an asshole. And they change everything out of the sudden, even if it's not true. And you feel like, oh, that bitch and everything. But they want it because it's a business. The more people watching, the better it is. So they want to keep you there, keep you. And then you're thinking for a couple of weeks, oh, poor thing, I was part of this. You have anxiety. You follow up a little bit, and then it changes. Boom, the news is out. You don't see it anymore. It's taken down. And you're like, okay, I haven't heard of it. It was kind of traumatizing. I remember it, but that was it. Then another news comes in, and the same thing. It's planting a seed on your mind. I'm sorry I got too deep, but I think it's a topic that I wanted to talk to you about, and I think the examples you gave and we had also as like in the movie and everything in common were super important in how even a normal housewife, okay, a little bit crazy, can manipulate media.
Yeah, I think this conversation was great. We learned a lot about how external sources are able to take advantage of our perception and just give out all this misinformation and shape our minds in their benefits, you know, in a way that they get the best out of it. And I don't know, I'm super pissed super pissed with the Gone Girl thing. So there was a scene at the end, there was this news reporter, she was bashing Ben Affleck.
Yeah,
he's a asshole, he's a worst husband in the world and everything. And then at the end, well, I don't want to spoil. Okay, if you don't want a spoiler, you can skip a minute.
We're gonna stop it right now. We're gonna put that it's gonna be spoilers and go to the minute we're gonna let you know in the video.
At the end, a spoiler alert.
Yeah.
At the end, this news reporter walks back into Ben Affleck's house where they are pretending to be a good couple back again. And the news reporter talks to Ben and it's like, hey Ben, hi, it's good to see you again, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, Ben was like, you just talk so much shit about me in the news and you pretend that nothing happened and you're expecting me to be a good guy to you. It's just like, it's just the news, you know, don't worry about it. I'm like, I was
but that's it. They don't even
care about this shit, you know.
They just want to make profit.
A show, basically.
Profit, show, how as much viewers, fame, whatever, how you want to call it. We could go longer if you want to, because I have other examples. Something you guys should watch, which is really interesting about like information and manipulation, is The Great Hack on Netflix. It's pretty interesting how 2016 elections of the United States of America had some help of an institution called Cambridge Analytica, and how they helped manipulate the voters of the United States. Cambridge Analytica isn't part of Facebook.
I thought it was related or something.
They take information and they use Facebook. They use Facebook as a platform to advertise fake news, to manipulate the voters into voting for the Republican Party. So we can talk about this. Eddie, we're always hustling.
Yeah.
And thank you guys for having us again and watching our videos. We really appreciate it. This is actually my first time being full-time talking to someone. Next time maybe Tom and I will have a conversation too.
But yeah, this is the third episode of the Seasons podcast. I hope you learned something from it. And if you really, really enjoyed it, give us that like button in YouTube.
Subscribe to our channel. Like it, like our videos, share with your friends. Go to Instagram, Facebook, tell your parents to watch us. Okay, if our words are a little bit too strong, tell your friends. Be part of us. We're a community. If you have any topics you want to share with us that we should discuss, please
put in the comment
down below, and we'll see you next week.
Yeah. All right.
Seasons podcast, guys.
Right. Bye.